Got quiet all of a sudden. Oh, that. I'd like to call this meeting, the Clay County Commission, to order. We will start with our invocation. Father Roach, if you would please come forward and lead us in prayer. Make sure that the green light is on the mic, please. Thank you.
Well, as we have just experienced and celebrated our Independence Day, we call upon God's continued grace and strength upon Clay County and upon its commissioners. And so, loving God, we come before you, and we thank you for the gift of freedom and the gift of justice and liberty that we celebrate here in the United States. We ask your blessings upon Clay County in gratitude for good and faithful citizens, and we pray for our commissioners that as they gather this afternoon, may they continue to do your work in helping our county continue to grow in the ways of your love. Be with them and help us all to trust in the guidance of your Spirit among us. And we ask you all this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte? Here. Commissioner Withington?
Here.
Commissioner Lawson? Here. Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson? Here. Commissioner Johnson?
Here. That brings us to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion related to this afternoon's agenda? Oh, darn it. Let me go back here a little bit.
No, I got it. Move to
There you
approve today's agenda.
Motion has been made for the approval of today's agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. That brings us to public comments. Are there any persons here wishing to make any comments? If so, please make sure the microphone is on. When you approach the microphone, state your name and proceed.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tracy Baldwin, Clay County Assessor. I know that it looks like we got a pretty big meeting, but I want to make this short. I just wanted to recognize the incredible job my staff has done with this 23-24 assessment cycle. We all have probably seen on the news of Jackson County recently with their increase in values. The assessor's office in Clay County probably had pretty close to the same increases across the county. We sent a record number of increased notices this year. Pretty much all 97,000 parcels we have in the county received an increased notice. At this time, our informal process has ended, which we had approximately it was actually less than 1,000 informal hearings. BOE closes Monday, July 10th. At this time, we have about 100 BOE appeals. So with that said, I think that's a tremendous job of my staff getting that accomplished this year.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to come forward and speak?
Thank you for being here.
Go ahead and press the button for the microphone. Thank you.
Bob Nance, County Treasurer. I come to you because I need your help on something, and that is that the county has incurred a bill, and I do not know how I can get it paid. I have tried to, I know that the auditor told me there were 2 line items that the money could come out of. And I have not heard from anybody as to how we get that bill paid. I have sent 2 emails to the administrator. I've never heard back. The administrator's only met with me once, and that was last year when she told me I was terminated. And so what I'm asking is that this bill that was incurred by the treasurer in fighting to keep the job that the state of Missouri entitled him to. And that suit was won by my attorney, and I just want the attorney that represented me to be paid. I mean, and I sent each of you a letter and haven't heard anything. But, you know, the Constitution, if you read it, it says that the attorney for the county would appoint someone when there was a disagreement between two bodies. And I don't see why I should personally have to pay it. When that discussion was made, I told him that he asked, and I said I would like Kevin Corlew to represent me. Then he turned to me as he was calling Attorney Corlew, and he said, if he works for the county, we can get him paid. Well, if he works for the county, how's he going to decide? And that is the dilemma I'm in, and I ask for any comments from you, the commissioners, about the situation.
I'm afraid because this is not on our agenda, we can't really engage in discussion, but certainly I would like to hear from the attorney, our attorney, and from administrator on this issue, and perhaps we can bring it up at a point where it is on our agenda. Am I right, Mr. Counselor, that we cannot really engage in debate on this issue at this moment?
Yeah, a couple things. Yes, that is correct. For public comments, it's not something that should be interactive. But also, given the legal nature of this, it's not something we would typically do in a public meeting.
So I guess the best I can say at this very moment is to perhaps get with the administrator and attorney, and they will get back to us. I realize that that's, again, I'm trying not to discuss it any further than that. I'm trying to just basically direct you because that's where the Sunshine Law requires me to be at this moment. But bringing it to our attention is in this manner.
And the big thing is this the way the county works? Now, we know the way it worked when we had the previous three. And I want to make sure we're up front. I've been waiting since the middle of March. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward to make a public comment? Seeing none. That brings us to our consent agenda. Administrator?
The consent agenda allows the commission to act upon items considered to be routine and approved in one motion. These may include items that have been reviewed by the commission in a prior session. There will be no separate discussion unless a commissioner requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. There is one item on this afternoon's consent agenda. That's Resolution 2023-227, approving the renewal agreement with ADP Incorporated for Human Resources Module Payroll Processing, Reporting, and Electronic Recruiting.
Commissioner Wagner.
Yes, to move to approve today's consent agenda.
Motion has been made for the approval of this afternoon's consent agenda. Discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. That brings us to our regular agenda. First on our regular agenda is 2023-231. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-231 is repealing Resolution 2023-153 and approving a revised 2023 professional services contract with the Clay County Economic Development Council.
Very well. I guess, do you want to start it off a little bit? Or?
Sure, I'd be happy to introduce this particular topic. The commission may recall earlier this year, There was discussion about many of our service contracts with outside agencies, and the Clay County Economic Development Council services contract was reworked from prior service contracts with several different additions and changes to that contract. And that was approved by the commission. It was then forwarded to the EDC for consideration. The EDC has responded back, looking at the revised service contract, and I believe they have proposed one slight change. One of the changes in the contract was adding an additional commissioner to both the EDC's Board of Directors and the EDC's Executive Board. The proposal by the EDC is to accept the service contract with one change, and that is to add the additional commissioner to the Board of Directors, but not add a second seat to the EDC's Executive Board. They wish to keep the size of their Executive Board the existing size that it is. So that is the counterproposal, and that is reflected in the contract that is attached to this resolution for the Commission's consideration. There are members here today from the EDC that would be happy to talk with the Commission about that recommended proposal.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions of the administrator before we go to the speakers? Seeing none, do you have an order that they would like to be recognized in, or how do we want to work that?
I'm not aware of that. I would ask them to come forward.
As you come forward, please make sure that the green light is on the microphone, state your name, and proceed with your statement.
Hi, Commissioners. Thank you for having us today. My name is Kirk Davis. I'm the Chair-elect of the EDC, and Julie Sola could not make it today, but she asked me to present a document that she's written, and I'd like to do so if I could. I am sorry that I cannot be in attendance at today's meeting. The negotiation of the contract between the EDC and Clay County has been an incredibly long process. In January, the EDC was asked to present information about our organization where we intended to use the county funds with very little notice, and we certainly understand and appreciate the diligence put forth by this commission to understand where taxpayer dollars would be sent. Despite our best intentions, the EDC, and I think we could have articulated the value of our organization and our service to Clay County more effectively at that time. Presenting to the commissioners allowed the EDC, however, to take a kind of a step back and understand our priorities. The EDC knew we needed to update our strategic plan, which we are in the middle of right now, work through our value proposition for our members, and re-engage our board of directors post-pandemic. A lot of work has been done in these areas. Regardless of the funding decision, the work by the EDC will continue. The EDC, led by, I guess yours truly, has been meeting with community leaders, business owners, and members gathering feedback and input on our strategic plan for the future. And the EDC will continue to work on our value proposition to share with the commissioners and our current and future members of our organization. Our executive board had a lengthy discussion about the proposed contract and provided alternatives to present to our full board as outlined by our bylaws. We engaged our board of directors at a quarterly meeting in June. The motion was made by Tony Reinhardt to decline all the contracts from the county and keep the original ask of $100,000 and 2 seats on the full board, 1 seat for the presiding commissioner on the executive board. Bridget Mendoza provided the second on the motion, and it passed unanimously with our board of directors. We have several board members and staff from the EDC ready to answer questions as you discuss and decide the future of our partnership and funding. Many board members wanted to attend but were not available at 3 p.m. today following the holiday, and we apologize for that. But we've worked hard over many decades to provide an important service to Clay County. We are an organization of mostly volunteers that are passionate about economic development that help provide jobs, educational opportunities, and better quality of life for the citizens of Clay County. One thing that I've always appreciated about the Northland is our spirit of cooperation. And rather than competition with so much economic development activity going on in the Northland, specifically Clay County, we have an opportunity to stand united and to work together. We sincerely hope you will consider the original contract. Assuming the county decides to fund the EDC, we'd be happy to provide additional reporting requirements agreed upon by the commissioners and the EDC. We want to be as transparent as we possibly can, and certainly include the commission as a valued partner with the EDC. We hope you will choose to be our continued partner in contributing to a better Clay County. And I have some copies of that document that Julie gave us. We have a lot going on, and I would like to, if it's possible, Mr. Commissioner, I'd like to ask Dave Slater to give us a brief kind of outline of the things that we're currently going on, that we're dealing with. And going back to January, we could have put a better foot forward and should have. We all acknowledge that with that budget presentation, which was kind of unexpected because we hadn't done that in the past. That said, I think it was the right thing to do, and we're going to be much better prepared in the future. The other part of that is this is a year of transition for us. This is the year that we typically, every 4 or 5 years, we go through a strategic planning process. We're in the middle of that right now. Our priorities are going to change based on those outcomes. We're going to have a retreat with our board in August. From that out, we expect some operational outcomes as well that are going to be different. So we're trying to adjust our organization to be more responsive, to be better partners with many in our community, especially our business community. We're a public-private partnership, as Julie said, made mostly of community volunteers, but it's an important public-private partnership. The Clay County Commission, with our proposal, would be the only local government to have seats on the board. It consists of private businesses for the most part. And we've had some great successes in the past. We hope with the support of the County Commission, we can move forward together in a productive, transparent way of doing business. And with that, I'd like our Executive Director, David Slater, to say a few words about what's going on with the EDC that the Commission might be interested in.
Thank you, Kirk. David Slater, Executive Director of Clay County EDC. We do have a few things going on. First of all, I'd like to talk about our 587 plan, which if you've been on our website or read the papers or saw the media, it's the intersection of 152 and 435. And when I took this job 3 years ago, there was nothing but cattle and opportunity. Now we've got a master plan for it that's hopefully going to get a master developer out of Kansas City. CBRE, the biggest real estate firm in the country, wants to oversee the master developer on that. And one quadrant, the southeast quadrant, is already under contract. The Mormon Church, who they said would never ever allow that, they were on the 500-year plan, has gotten in partnership with the local developer. If you read about the data centers going in just south of Smithville, the first 6 buildings going to be in Clay County, there was a major foul up down in Kansas City based on the WBE and MB contracts. And because of the connections I've been able to make, we were able to go down there, and Tim Cowden, I don't know if you know who Tim Cowden is, but there's a Casey Area Development Company Council. He said he trusted me to get that fixed. And our attorney and also board member Jim Bauer gave me some information. We went down there and I met with the people who could make that decision. They went to the Black Chamber of Commerce, and those buildings are back on track. Hopefully they stay that way, but that's 11 years worth of labor work, not to mention the jobs coming from that. That Northland Workforce Development Center we talk about, where people can go get skilled trades for anything from electricity, to become an electrician or a plumber or a culinary artist. We're building a new $60 million building, and the governor, the legislature through the governor, gave us $30 million. And that happened because the governor came up and was able to meet the people involved with that because of because of the things with the EDC between Mr. Reinhardt and myself, the governor came and got to see what's going on. It's going to happen. And one of the co-chairs on the fundraising committee is, I'm the co-chair. North Kansas City Baseball. I know y'all been putting a lot of times, I don't know anything about your talks, but I do know that the PR is up to the point where we're acceptable now. We've had certain people come down and talk on the radio, talk on the TV, and because those people were invited to North Kansas City to see these sites by us. And I appreciate all your help. The MoDOT, there's probably nobody in the county that has more to do with getting the funding for MoDOT jobs than I did. I was the chair of the highway committee. I gave that up, but I'm watching over like a hawk. And we have a $14 billion STIP out there, of which $5.5 billion was spent. We've got other projects, but we have to be organized where we get it. We've been working with the Northland. Commissioner Nolte's been very involved too, where we work with, and Commissioner Withington's been there a couple of times too, and Commissioner Wagner. But we have to work as a Northland to get this money. The fact that we've got two of the fastest growing counties feeding in the biggest city in the state, and our funding's just not there, and that's on us because we have to go get it. You can't blame anybody else. With the redistricting, we've got a new state center for Liberty, Kearney Smithville. I met Senator Hoskins a long time ago, but I had a nice chat with him at a groundbreaking by Ora Reynolds with Temple Midwest. It was in Platte County, but it's in the Northland. Senator Hoskins agreed to go on a tour with me on a date yet set, but I want to take around so you can see the areas he represents, because Clay County's new to him. The EDC pros, all of your cities have these Economic Development Council people. We work very closely with them. Julie Lewis back there from our staff. Julie gets a monthly meeting organized so that we're all on the same page, and we work together to make it a better Clay County. Our Friday Facts, that newsletter we send out, hopefully you all get it, but our latest, we've got over 1,000 people opening it up every day, and that's just the clicks that we get. It doesn't, my dad's on that list too, and he never shows up as read it, but he says he reads it there all the time. People show around the office. We're showing off Clay County. We've got things to do in the county. During the summertime, I put a place in there that you can go visit in Clay County, because I want Clay County dollars spent in Clay County. Our membership's tripled since they hired me 3 years ago. You know, and why? Because we're good marketers. I don't have time to work on that, but people see we're making a difference and they want to be involved with us. And the coolest thing we're doing on right now is, as you all know, there's a shortage of paramedics, there's a shortage of police officers, right? How are we going to fix that? Well, yada, yada. So I've been working along with Councilwoman Hall on something where we can get the veterans, when they leave the service, if you sign up for the service, why aren't we teaching you to not just be an MP or a medic, but a paramedic or a post-certified police officer? And we're working on that, because I want people to be able to come over here to Fort Leonard Wood, go back home, and there's a separate post for each state. But if we get one consistent, then all the states pass it, so we don't interfere with state rights. How cool would it be that somebody comes up from Florida, goes to Fort Leonard Wood, and is able to come back home, not worry about his job, because the he's post-certified. And that's two things. First of all, that the police officers are fully staffed. Second of all, those people who serve our country, they can come out and not have to worry about that job. So paramedics instead of medics, instead of MPs, we're post-certified police officers. And we think we can do it. We're working with Senator Hawley's office and also Congressman Graves on that. And we've got a good relationship with those guys, and it needs to happen. And as far as Congressman Graves, it's a great time to have the chairman of the House Infrastructure Committee as our congressman, and we are working closely with him on these infrastructure projects. And that's all I've got. Got any other questions? And I will tell you, it's a two-person staff. I do the books. I write the newsletter. Julie does her things. Ethan is a loan officer for us. We just did 2 multi-million-dollar loans in Clay County. One of them was a Dairy Queen, a Red Spoon over in Antioch Crossing. The second one was a movie theater in North Kansas City at Armour Theater. It was managed for 10 years by a couple of young men who could never, ever gotten a loan at a bank because of their lack of financial base or But because of the SBA lending program, Ethan was able to get those two guys to own that building. And that's huge for this county, and that's just a start. We are a long way from being done with that, because if we can get people here and get them in their buildings, it's great for the county. And as Commissioner Nolde had pointed out too, when this ballpark comes to North Kansas City, there's gonna be a lot of displaced businesses. We want to get them in their buildings. We want to get them in their buildings in Clay County, okay? Any other questions? Or?
One thing that I want to mention is, you touched on this, but I'd like you to expand on it. When you were talking about making loans, you're talking about Midwest Small Business Financing.
Yes.
Which
Commissioner
Carpenter
Carpenter's
serves
on
on.
that board.
Could you, to make sure everybody is aware, not just for the members here, but also citizens who may be listening in, could you give us just a brief explanation, because this is a sister organization that is connected to the EDC, so if you could give us a little bit of information on that.
Yeah, Midwest Small Business Finance, we've got a little bit of money that we can loan out that was captured by grants from years ago. But the bulk of it's SBA lending, and SBA is Small Business Administration, and it's basically this. The person who wants to put the building up or buy equipment has to have 10% down. The EDC gives 40%, and the bank loans 50%. And how's that beneficial? The bank gets better collateral, because instead of owing for 90%, they only owe 50%. So if you have a restaurant, it's tough to get a restaurant loan. No legitimate bank really wants to go out there and give restaurant loans out, because they're too risky. Most of the restaurants you go to aren't there in 5 years. But with the SBA, they're able to take that risk on and get it paid down. So we
Can you give us an idea of how many loans we're talking about over the course of whatever period to basically small businesses so that they can operate mainly here in Clay County?
We have 29 loans on the SBA list right now. We have 29 loans. We've got another 8, possibly 9 today, just in our pipeline that we want to fund. And it's just, we're growing our county, and we're doing our best we can. And this is just another option that we provide that's
Many of those
serious
may
help.
not well be open, but for the access to the capital that the Small Business Finance provides.
Absolutely.
Something else that I wanted to ask about was, and I mentioned this at, I think our last meeting in my comments, and that was, we are beginning to develop a partnership with Platte County to forward interests that we share, which among them, first and foremost, is transportation. So we are working with Platte County to make sure that we get our share of funding and consideration from Mark. That includes trying to make sure that there's a level playing field when it comes to the scoring of different projects. Tell us, because one of the things that EDC has been doing has been hosting joint Clay-Platte County meetings where we have gotten together, ourselves and members of Platte County, and talked about how it is, strategies that we would employ to get that funding for roads and other transportation assets. One of the success stories being to keep the funding for 92 Highway in Tier 2 funding at Mark, so that we don't somehow slip through the cracks and lose an opportunity. So could you expand on that?
Yeah, we consider ourselves one Northland now. It's no longer Clay and Platte counties, because we can't do things individually. And if you team up, you're a lot stronger. But we're also trying to redo Mark, because their board of directors was probably set up years ago, where Wyandotte County has better representation than Platte County, which is the same size, and better representation in Clay County, and we've buried those guys population-wise. That's got to be fixed. But you look at the highways we want to fix. 92 Highway is the next 152. Y'all been around for at least 35 years, know about Old Berry Road being that roller coaster through the Northland. And when they put in 152, look what happened. We see the same thing with 92. We see connections at 69 Highway in Excelsior Springs, going west over to Kearney with I-35, going west over to Smithville at 169, going west over to Blatt City at 29, going west over to Leavenworth at 7. And we just think that's going to connect the Northland. And it's imperative that we get this done. We're working with Congressman Graves' office. It should not be a little 2-lane roller coaster. It should be a 4-lane road, at least with visibility. And that's one of our goals. Another one is if you take 291 Highway from I-35 to 435, it's a hugely growing population. We've got a 2-lane roller coaster. But that's not enough. We want to go from 435 all the way over to 29, Interstate 29 by taking Cookingham Road and making it the same way. But east-west passageways are there. I mentioned the 5 north-south highways. Those are good. we still got to work on capacity. But these two east-west corridors are huge for the Northland, and we're working on them. The intersection between 152, where 29 and 35 come in to form the split with 169 highway, that's a huge priority. To see that we spent $5.4 billion out of the STIP, and the number one project for the two to three fastest growing counties feeding into the largest city in the state was on that list. I'm going to take responsibility for that, but you can bet your rear end that it's going to be on the next one, because we're going to do whatever we have to do to get that done. But that affects both counties. And the growth of Clay County, we talked about Twin Creeks, 80% that's going to be, let me go back to Twin Creeks. 80% is going to be in Platte County, 20% in Clay County. But it's a Northland thing. Twin Creeks is the area basically south of 435, north of 152, east of I-29 and west of 169. It's going to be two Gladstones. It's going to be 70 to 80,000 people in there. We want those people to be able to get in and out and have access. And if we don't get 169, if we don't get this split done, what are they going to do? They're going to go 635 to work over in Kansas. Why do we want that? We're working with our schools. We spend a ton of time in school. And the argument on that is, why are you working with these schools? Well, let's see, $12,000 a year for 13 years, $156,000 investment per student. And if that person gets out there and they go to Austin or Boston, or they say, would you like fries with that? Then we just lost that investment. We need to make sure that our kids not have to go to college, but have a career. They can go to trade school, they learn a skilled trade, they can go to the military. But we have got to give every one of these kids that opportunity. We're doing mock interviews. We're with other people. We had this NEBA, Northland Education Business Alliance, monthly meeting at the EDC. And it's about building a workforce. That's one of the most important things we can do. Plus, y'all with kids, you don't want to travel all the way out to New York City to visit your kids. It'd be expensive. But I know Commissioner Wagner's son was out he was a student at the Northland Career Center, and that kid could go to college anywhere he wanted to. He's obviously a bright young man, but this was a fit, and we want to bring him back and have that job for him when he's done.
I want to go ahead and open it up to the other commissioners, but one last thing, and then I'll open the board, and that is, could you tell us a little bit about the cooperative relationship between Clay County EDC and the EDCs in Clay County municipalities and some of those? And then I'd like to go ahead and elicit comments and questions from the commission. But
again, the EDC pros meet monthly. We host it typically at our place. Sometimes we'll go on the road. But these guys have been told, and it's not hard to ask, but we're out. You go to one of these luncheons at the Chamber of Commerce in Excelsior Springs or Kearney, your chances are you're going to see 1 to 4 of us out there. And North Kansas City Business Council, they got a 7:30 coffee. If anybody wants to come there, and North Kansas City's in your district, every first Friday, we'll be there. And we're out because A, networking, B, just let people know that. That's where you get your ideas. A lot of this stuff, I had no idea. I mean, I knew we had a problem, but I didn't know that we could work through with the military to increase our police force. But because we were out there networking, we found that out, and we're not sitting on it. I mean, there's a huge need for it. And 90% of the people, I know Mr. Johnson is one of the minority, because most people see trouble, they want to run from it. And there's a certain mindset of some folks that come out and they don't mind going that way. And when you jump out of the military, it would be nice to have a police officer's job waiting for you, right? Instead of wondering, what am I going to do, where I'm going. But you're going to be trained no matter where you go, when this passes. And it's going to have to be federal legislation to get this done. But we think we can do it.
I think what I'd like to do is go ahead and open it up to the commission, and then after we've gone through a round of questions and comments, I'd like to give the opportunity for any other people from EDC or anyone else to speak. So if that sounds like a good way to go, we will start with Commissioner Withington. Please proceed.
Thank you guys for coming, and I appreciate you guys acknowledging that you guys could have done a better job with that presentation, so I appreciate that. But my first question is, did the EDC ever agree to accept a second commissioner on the executive board?
Our board did not.
So you guys never had that conversation with?
We had the conversation to vote.
But did you ever agree, you guys never agreed to it?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay. So then, Commissioner Nolte, did you misrepresent the EDC's position when you said at the November 26th meeting that the EDC was okay with this and that they were ready to move forward with it?
I hope that what I was trying to represent was this was an alternative I wished to float. It did not pass this body, so I've dropped it.
Well, you had said that the EDC was ready to move forward with it and that they were fine with it and that they had vetted it.
May I jump in real quickly?
Please,
Because-
if you
because
would like.
The executive board was okay with it going to the full board, because the full board has to change our charter, so full board said no.
Okay, so the executive board was fine with
No, the
having...
executive board was fine with discussing it with the full board.
Okay, so then when you brought it to us, when you said that you had just left the executive board meeting and that the executive board was fine, was that a misrepresentation or was that your...
Are you saying that I willfully
Well, I'm just trying to figure
misrepresented?
out...
Because misrepresentation is kind of an accusatory term, and if,
I mean,
I kind of want to know
at
what it is you're
At the
asking.
38-minute mark, you said that you had left the executive board meeting and that they were fine with this and that they had vetted it. I'm just trying to find out, because this would have passed that night. This contract would have passed that night, and none of this drama, none of this would have gone on for more than 1 week. I'm just trying to find out, he's saying that they didn't, you said that they did. I just want to know who was misrepresenting what here.
You're talking about last November.
No, I'm talking about...
What was the date again?
4/26/23 at the 38-minute mark.
Wow, you have certainly drilled down on me, haven't you?
Well, like I said, this could have passed, and I think that there's been a lot of things thrown out. I just want, you had also said that the EDC thought we were bad business partners.
I don't recall saying bad business partners.
Yeah, you said that too.
I think
and-
I might have said, I perhaps might have said unreliable.
No, you said bad business partner.
Now, the thing is, you've obviously researched and drilled down, and, you got me. I guess
So
if
I don't
you're
want-
playing, I got you.
don't want them coming here thinking that we're a bad business partner.
I believe what the proposal was that the pro tem, now, whether they were good or bad with that, I think they were good with discussing it. Now, maybe I phrased it poorly, maybe I'm being misunderstood, maybe I just did a bad job of expressing myself. But that would have been the proposal at that time. That proposal was rejected by the commission, so it's a non-starter for me.
Okay. And who from this commission in the county negotiated the contract changes with the EDC?
Who negotiated them?
Yeah, who negotiated the changes and vetted the changes? Because I wasn't asked about if we wanted to make any changes to the contract. Were you, Jay? Were you, Megan?
Wait a minute, no,
No.
you were out of order to
Okay,
start quizzing.
so
You had to be
nobody-
recognized.
Okay, so nobody here was asked if we wanted to make changes to the EDC's contract until it was presented to us at a public meeting. I'm trying to find out, was it you that wanted to revisit negotiating the EDC's contract?
I floated the idea.
Who'd you float the idea to? Because you didn't ask me.
Well, obviously, I floated the idea in the form of that resolution.
So
But
after the fact, because then you came to us and said that you were trying to avoid a knockout, drag-out fight, but we weren't asked about our input on the contract until after the fact. So maybe next time, this could all be avoided if you consult the full commission or part of us before you go out and renegotiate the contract, because it seems to me like you did misrepresent what the executive board said, because when we brought this up, Administrator Diana said there was a meeting this morning with the EDC executive board. She hadn't heard anything about it, but that you were possibly in attendance and that you could probably, tell us. And you said that it was an executive session and that you had asked the EDC for direction on what you could share without violating their public meeting. And then that is when you said that the executive board was essentially fine with this as it, and they were ready to move forward and that they had vetted it.
I will certainly do a better job in the future of trying to consult all commissioners within sunshine law requirements.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in. I don't want you guys to think that anybody on this commission wanted to defund you guys. Nobody here has ever once said that they want to defund it. I know that has been thrown around. Commissioner Nolte has said that you guys thought we wanted to defund you guys. Nobody here wants to defund the EDC. Now, I had concerns on how you guys were going to spend the money. I've expressed that to you. So I just want you guys to know, nobody here wants to defund you. And I think the problem was, I think your guys' position was misrepresented to this entire body. So that's where I'm at. I'm willing to vote on this contract and approve it. But one thing I would like to see is for the executive board, I would like to see that moved from the presiding commissioner to somebody elected by this board. Is that something you guys would consider?
That would be a board discussion item.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I would like to have you guys discuss that and see what you would say. But that's all I got for right now.
Commissioner Johnson. Thank you. So first of all, thank you to all of you that showed up from EDC. I appreciate the work that you do. I really do. And appreciate you being here. I actually reached out to Julie Sola last week. Haven't heard back from her yet. Was hoping to talk with her before this meeting. But a couple of questions. When we talk about contracts, at the very basis of a contract, there is an offer and acceptance. I think any attorney will tell you that. That's what a contract is. Somebody makes an offer and the other side accepts it, you got a contract, essentially. Last April, and what Commissioner Withington is referring to, we had what we thought was an offer from the EDC for this contract. And that offer was, $100,000, but we also have a second position on the EDC board, executive board.
Yes, sir.
And that position, in that offer, that position would be the pro tem, which would be, we know, is selected by the presiding commissioner. The only change we made to that offer was, instead of it being the pro tem automatically, it would be someone elected by this body. Why did that change things for you guys?
I don't think the full board ever had to vote on the contract. And correct me if I'm wrong, the whole board never voted on the second person until
Right.
June.
Right, you were ready to take, though, to the full board, the original contract. Matter of fact, you just said that.
Yeah,
and
yes.
Commissioner Nolte said that night that you guys were, quote, all on board.
Okay.
So you were all on board then, but then you weren't on board with taking it to your full membership. Just that small change of, hey, instead of he decides through his pro tem, we as a body decide who that second position is. Why wouldn't you take that to your board? Or to your membership?
We were okay with taking it for discussion. And the bottom line is that we've got a 7-person exec board and it's a public-private partnership.
Right.
And we didn't want it slanted with 25% of people on that exec committee being from the government, Clay County government.
So your budget is how much?
It's about $400,000.
So we're about a fourth of your budget?
Yes. Yeah,
And how
good
many people
point.
are on that board?
7.
What's 1/4 of 7?
No, 1/4 of 7 be a little bit less than 2.
Yeah. So 2 wouldn't be unreasonable as far as equal representation for the amount of money that's coming from the county, would it be?
That would be correct.
Okay, so, and by the way, David, I'm not trying to put you on the spot
No,
at all.
you're
I'm not-
fine.
This is not anything I have against you, so
No.
please don't feel like I'm asking some tough questions, but it's not you, it's the whole, it's more the executive board than you, and maybe some from the executive board should be up here answering, but the
okay.
problem I have is, first of all, this whole thing stunk from the beginning, as far as I'm concerned. That's why it went down this road. To me, I felt like our presiding commissioner was negotiating with himself on the EDC board as an executive member of your EDC board, which I didn't like. That's another story. But nonetheless, the EDC board made us an offer from what was represented to us, and we basically accepted that offer with the only difference is, instead of Jerry selecting that next position by the selection of his pro tem, it was selected by this body.
Correct.
And for some reason, you guys didn't want that. You were willing to take it to your membership if it was the pro tem. But now that it's not the pro tem, it's someone that we decided, in this case, it was Commissioner Winton, you guys didn't want that. What changed? Why won't you take that to your board? And you can tell me specifically, did you get pressure from Commissioner Nolte not to accept this?
We did not get promotion.
Okay, then why did you change?
Again, we were going to take that proposal. We were okay with taking the proposal to
Right.
the full board.
Right.
Not the fact that we would add the pro tem, which is Commissioner Wagner, not that we would add Commissioner Withington.
Yeah.
We were okay with taking that proposal. I don't think there was ever a consensus on the full, even the exec board that we wanted to have a second member of this
But you
commission
never
on it.
took that to your,
No, it did go, and it was unanimously turned down.
to the full,
The full board unanimously turned it down.
so you took what we proposed,
Yes,
to the full board membership,
yes,
and that was turned down?
correct.
Really?
Yeah, yes. Mr. Reinhardt made the motion. Tony, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and Ms. Mendoza
Okay.
had the second.
Now, was it first voted on by your executive board before it went to the full board?
The executive board discussed it, but it's a full board decision because it deals with our charter. We had
Okay,
had
so
to
the
adjust our
executive board
charter.
didn't vote on it first before it went to the full board?
No, they did not.
Okay, so what we proposed, what our offer in return, basically, that did go to the full board, and it was rejected by the full board.
Unanimously,
Unanimously rejected.
yes. Yes,
Unanimously rejected by the full board?
yes, sir.
Were either of you guys there? Were you there?
And
I believe I was the only commissioner. in
Commissioners
attendance.
Carpenter and Thompson were invited to that meeting, and they were not there.
And Commissioner Nolte was there.
And Commissioner Nolte was there.
So he voted against it as well.
No, were you at the last full board meeting? Or
Yes.
was that when you were out of town? Okay, so you voted against it, yes.
So
Or
you voted
abstained.
against the will
Yes.
of this commission?
I'm sorry.
Hold on, but before we, let's, if you want to address that, you can come up and introduce yourself so that people know who is speaking, and if you want to address that, address Commissioner Johnson.
My name is Bridget Mendoza, and I sat close to Commissioner Nolte at our meeting, and he did abstain from voting because he felt that it would not be in the best interest for his
Good.
commissioner seat or having the seat with us. So he did abstain from voting, but the regular board, aside from Commissioner Nolte, all unanimously
Okay.
voted to not proceed with the proposition that you guys gave us.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand so obviously the executive board was somewhat in agreement with the first proposal, but then what we sent back, you weren't in agreement with.
I disagree. With all respect, I thought the executive board was okay with bringing it to the full board for discussion with both proposals, the pro tem and also the one nominated by this body,
Yeah.
both options. And that's when it was turned down in June.
So I see a couple other people want to speak. I'll let them speak before I
Sure.
decide to say something else here. Thank you.
Commissioner
you.
Lawson, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said thank you to Commissioner Johnson.
Commissioner Lawson, you're recognized. Oh. You're asking me to do things that are like above my pay grade on, there we are.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, thanks a million for coming. I want to explain one thing. When we initially saw the contract from Commissioner Nolte, no problem except that Commissioner Withington was not going to vote for that proposal. What I wanted was to see the entire group as a body go forward together and say, yes, this is good. The only reason that he had concerns, as he said, was because he felt that there wasn't enough documentation for him to be comfortable with the amount of money. Now, I'm kind of with him on that because, and I've said this before, and I know y'all are tired of hearing me say it, but I'm gonna say it again because some of you weren't here. The whole time that Jason and Jay and myself were running, one of the biggest hot buttons that we had was the budget. And one of the things that the people who were supporting us came and talked to us about was police and, all kinds of safety, roads and bridges, and money. How was that money that we were given to care for, how was it being dispensed? Was it being dispensed in the proper way? So for us, that was a major hot button. When you're looking at $100,000, in the big scheme of maybe this county's budget, that's kind of a half of a drop in the bucket. But to all of us and the people that we represent, that's a hell of a lot of money, you know? So we wanted to make sure it was all done right. I felt there were two things. I felt like there had been a little bit of contention between Jason and the board, and he had a little bit of concern about how the money was going to be spent. So I felt, as I think I shared with you, one of the main reasons I did this was not a slap to at all. It was for the original proposal, for it to be Scott, that was great. And I think he's an intelligent, good man, and I respect him. But I thought, hey, here's a way we can do this. Put Jason on that board in Scott's place. He can actually see the good that you do, because this board is tremendous, and I want to support him. And I felt like he could see firsthand what you were doing. And another thing is, all the time, I shouldn't say all the time, all 6 months that I've been here, I have never really gotten a report that says, hey, we had a meeting with the EDC the other day, not taking a shot at you, I'm just saying the way it is, that I had a meeting with the EDC, and man, they've got some hot stuff going on. And here's what we talked about. Some I know we can't hear about because it's things that maybe are proprietary and you're working toward it, so you don't want to spill the beans, so to speak, in advance. But other things that you're doing, some of the other good you're doing and how you're working with the small cities around, that I'd like to know about. So I thought Jason can come, he can see what you do, he can report back. It was just kind of the best of both worlds. That's the only reason I changed it from Scott to Jason. So I will admit and take all the blame for the whole mess that this has started, but I did it with a good heart. I wasn't doing it maliciously in any way. So now, I guess, I'm kind of with Jay. I'm disappointed in a lot of ways. I felt like it was a great option. I felt that we could have 2 sitting on executive, and there would be reporting back, there would be openness, and, which we all talked about, transparency forever and a day. So that's what I was looking for. And I cannot stress enough that we really did, through no fault of Jerry's, but we all understood him to say that you all were okay with having 2 people on that board. And with the body that we have, 7 people, I think that's only fair to have 2 on that executive board. So that's the only thing. I truly have no problem with the money. I just would like to see that executive board with 2 individuals from our commission sitting on it. And however the body decides to do that, I'm in agreement with. But that's my only concern. Okay?
May I address him, Commissioner?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, as far as the financials are concerned, when I took over, they had a single item, 1 month balance sheet, 1 month income statement. Now they give them, compared to the last month and the prior year, we get year-to-date numbers, we compare them to budget. So they get a 6-page financial every month that Commissioner Nolte gets. I'd be glad to let him share them with you, answer any questions. As far as spending, we keep it pretty tight. I mean, I've been there almost 3 years now. Not one time have I stayed in a hotel room overnight at the EDC's expense. Okay, when I do that, usually it's out of my own pocket because till a couple months ago I was in as a mayor. But you go down to Jeff City, I tried to leave at 11 o'clock at night and get back just so I don't have to spend that money. We watch our money way too tight, and they probably laugh at me and tell me, yeah, you're right. But as far as what we do, that's a little bit on you all. I mean, I presented at North Lane Chamber, I presented at North Kansas City Business Council. I make presentations at businesses around here, what we're doing, and I've never seen anybody there. And that's available. In fact, in October, I believe I'm the agenda for the Liberty Chamber of Commerce if you want to see what we're doing. So come on by. But we're out there, we're selling what we're doing. That's how we pick up our memberships. I would love to be able to sit on the phone or have Julie or somebody sit on the phone for a couple hours a day and say, here's what we're doing. We want your membership, but we can't do that. And then it'd be more than 1/4 of the budget. Right now, we get about $150,000 a year from the Midwest Small Business Finance to help cover those expenses. And that basically covers Ethan's salary and a couple other little things. And we get about $150,000 in dues. When I started, we had 49 members. And now we've more than tripled that. And we'll continue doing it. And it's not because we're out mining the fields. We're just out there. People, I don't know if you read my last Friday facts, but a couple weeks ago, the Kansas City Star came out against the Northland, and I swung back, and we got about 4 or 5 people say they want to join us just because of that. We're out here to defend the Northland. We're not going to let them come up here and say that we're a bunch of jokers. We can't do anything, that we're just, we don't have the financial wherewithal to do anything like the Royal Stadium. They don't understand. And they don't understand because they don't ask. All I ask is that you ask, because we're doing a lot of things, and we're working a lot of hours, a lot of times to get them done. But the financials are there. I'm sorry. And what we do is out there too. I'd be glad to make a presentation to you. The reason, if you guys want me out here on a quarterly basis or something, tell you what we're up to, I'd love to do that. I love talking about what we're doing, but because it's good. I mean, there's bad too, but it's good. Mr. Davis?
Yeah, if I can jump in for a second, David, in response to some of the questions in the general tenor, I can tell you this board is very interested in, we like the opportunity for the presiding commissioner to serve on an exec board, and we like the opportunity for there to be 2 other board members if you're choosing to be on our general board. We also really like the opportunity, something Commissioner Withington has championed from the very beginning on this, and that is open up the transparency. We will make as many presentations to this commission as you see fit. We can talk to groups. We can extend reports to the extent that we can. And that, I know that Chairperson Sola is really interested in becoming, reaching out and trying to be more transparent with this commission and build those relationships. We think those relationships are important. We think they can be enhanced given our existing structure. And we look at for example, the proposal to NNI. In that case, there was no board representation in the NNI allocation. We agree there should be board presentation. We agree with 2 of your choices being our general board, and we agree to open up the transparency as much as you need or as much as we possibly can. And frankly, kudos for bringing that to our attention, that we need to do a better job there. And with that, I think that hopefully that responds to some of the questions.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. David, thanks for being here. Board members, thanks for being here as well. As we've gone down the Wayback Machine a couple of times, I'll go my route, because I remember back in April I suggested don't pass anything. We should be having a conversation, because what I perceived would happen has happened, which is, and since this is Wimbledon week, the tennis ball just went back and forth and back and forth. This one took 2 months to come back over here, when I think some conversation back in April would have yielded the sort of results that hopefully we'll have today. My only point that I'll just make is we're in July. It is July. And even talking about potentially making even more additional changes to perhaps, I don't know, punish the presiding commissioner further, only means that we just hit the ball back, and maybe it'll come back by the US Open. If the EDC is doing a job that we think is satisfactory and they are offering more representation, My advice would be simply to accept that, because I don't know that we get any further down the road unless maybe we'll pass something by the time everything goes through September or October. If the job is being done and performed well, and we believe that it is being done and performed well based on what we've heard today, if we have heard that there will be more transparency and more reports and whatever that we ask for in order to get to that point, my advice is to go forward, because just simply hitting the ball back has just delayed things to the point where we're talking about things that happened months ago and is, at this point, irrelevant based on what is sitting here in front of us. If it's a good contract, vote for it. If not, don't. But just continuing to hit the ball back, I don't think helps us or the organization at all. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
So I actually have a couple concerns, and this really has to do with our representation on, the county's representation on EDC. And we've talked about wanting to get more information from EDC and want members of the executive board to be here to present stuff. We have a member of the executive board on our commission. And apparently, according to you, what you said, he gets reports every month of the finances?
Financial reports, yes.
And I've never seen one of those.
I can forward all those to you if you'd like.
Why aren't we seeing them from you, Jerry?
Because, well, I can't send to everybody. I probably could send them through the administrator and have her distribute them.
You can't send them to everybody. You can send them to everybody.
Okay?
You've been on this board for how many years?
8.
And you've never shared that information with anybody on this commission?
I've not been asked.
We're wasting their time when you have all that information to share with us. I mean, I'm seeing, I don't mean to be, well, I am. I'm frustrated. The missing link here is the communication piece between you, Jerry, and the board, and it's really frustrating me. First with this contract that was clearly misrepresented to us about what was happening with this, and there's so many red flags on this. I won't rehash that again, but there's so many red flags that cause this discussion. But now the fact that the relationship with the EDC, I'm told that the EDC feels like there's some conflict with the commission. There shouldn't be. But the problem is our only representation on that EDC executive board is you, and we're not getting good information, Jerry.
Actually, as I'm thinking about it, yes, it was sent to everybody. That stopped, I guess it was when we changed leadership, when we changed executive directors. I really didn't realize that, but it was, I think, being sent to everybody when we had 2 commissioners, but that would have been some time ago. So I believe when David came on board, I'm not sure that was still happening. I'm not sure exactly what the disconnect was.
So my point is, you've heard Jason ever since day one, when he got on this commission, asking about EDC, where's the money going? Let's see what you're spending your money doing. You're the one of those people making decisions on where they spend that money. You know exactly where it's going, and you have all the numbers, but you're not sharing them with us. Instead, you're making them come here and do this when they don't need to. You have all this information. I'm just kind of a little frustrated that that's not being shared with us, and I think that's hurting our relationship with you, because we want a great relationship with EDC. We appreciate very much what EDC does, and we want to support what you do, but there's a communication breakdown here, and in most cases, when you have conflict, it's 90% of the times it's a communication breakdown. And it's a little frustrating that we're going through this. We should know without even asking them what exactly EDC is doing. That's why we have a representative on the EDC executive board, and it's just kind of frustrating that this is going on, and the way this negotiation came down for this contract, and the way it was presented to us, and then pulled out from underneath us, which made it look like the only reason why it was pulled out from underneath us is because you prefer to have Commissioner Wagner as opposed to Commissioner Withington. I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but that's the appearance that it's coming across as because of the communication issues that are in the breakdown. We need to fix that, and maybe Commissioner Withington's suggestion. I don't know. I know, Jerry, you're on a ton of commissions, on a ton of boards and committees, that kind of stuff. I don't even know how many you're on. There's a lot of us that aren't on any. Maybe we need to spread that around a little bit more so that you know, we can have a little bit more accountability on each of these different boards, particularly EDC. That's pretty important.
He did give Commissioner Carpenter his seat on Midwest Small Business Finance Board, so
Right.
Mr. Commissioner Carpenter is a regular.
Right.
Ms. Mendoza's good.
I want to say something to you. My name is Bridget Mendoza again. When we voted on that, and Commissioner Nolte abstained, when we voted, most of the comments were that we respect and we value the relationship that we have with the county commission, and we want you to know that. It is not just you guys valuing us. We value each and every one of you. And it was hard to come to that vote because of that, and I just wanted to let you know that in no way do we want to hurt or impede the relationship that's been established thus far. We only want it to grow, and we only want the value to be noticed by all of you on the commission. We want the value to be there for the people that we all represent. Because the EDC represents the general public as well.
Yeah.
And that is first and foremost. When I came on this board and I met with David, that was the only thing that mattered to me, was taking care of those who did not have a voice, who we needed to be a voice for. And I'm sure as commissioner, you feel that same way. And I just want to let you know, because I heard what you said, we too value the relationship that we have with Clay County.
Well, I appreciate that. And one of the reasons why we thought too on that executive board, which by the way, that would bring your executive board to 8, which would be 1/4.
Fourth, right.
But the reason for the 2 was to have that better communication and to have that better support and feedback to us as well on what's going on with that board, instead of leaving it all with just one person on the executive board. That was kind of our thought, at least my thought process, in that idea of having someone selected by this commission to sit on that executive board as well. But I see a couple other people lined up to talk, so I'll let somebody else talk.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. I'll just note that the first opportunity for everyone to learn about what the EDC was doing was back in January, when we were talking about the budget, when we invited David to come in to speak about what those dollars would be used for at the invitation of our colleague. I tend to wonder, when that came at that time, when we just came into office for those 4 of us who were new, what information was being restricted, because at that point we were hearing everything at the same time from the organization.
Right.
I asked my questions, a few zingers there, I think.
Always.
But, thank you. But again, I am trying to understand what has been withheld, and if the only thing that's been withheld, based on what was earlier asked, was based on a conversation in April, the substance of the organization most assuredly was presented to everybody in January. At that point, questions could be asked, and some of the answers were a bit challenging, but so I do want to at least remind folks that, you know, there was this history that wasn't too great between the county and this organization, which I will not delve into now because it doesn't really help the matter. But it does seem to me, when we have that sort of history to get over, and then when we have the first opportunity to learn what is going on at the EDC the moment we get in, within the first 3 weeks we're here, to somehow say now information is being withheld, at least as far as the substance of the organization goes, I would disagree with that. If it is a matter of, we don't like how this contract has been discussed, okay, but let's make sure that that's what we're speaking to, because the substance of the organization has been there since January. And again, it's July.
Yes.
And we could talk this thing all day long, but at the end of the day, here's a contract that's sitting in front of us. We can choose to accept it or not, or we can choose to punt and say we'd like to talk about it some more, which is what I was saying back in April. Again, I am not sure what we are gaining if the substance of the organization we find acceptable. Thank you.
Commissioner Withington.
Yeah, I just want you guys to know I have no hard feelings about your guys' vote, but I do think we need more representation on the executive board. I know I had texted with you and you had shared that Commissioner Nolte got monthly financials and that he could share those with us.
Sure.
He never has.
I will-
Can you, since he hasn't shared them with us, can you send them to us all?
I'm going back to the office tonight. You'll get January through June before I go home tonight to the county administrator.
Okay.
And she can share with y'all, because I don't know if you had, I probably got everybody's email address, but I don't know for sure. If I do, I can send it directly to you too. Or you can.
Okay, but I just want you guys to know that I have no hard feelings about your vote. I think, like Commissioner Johnson said, all this could have been avoided if it wasn't misrepresented to us. And then also, Commissioner Wagner just said, that this didn't come before us until April. I mean, Scott, that's because Commissioner Nolte was apparently negotiating this for several months. We could have voted on this in February like we did NNI and every other professional service agreement that we passed then too. So it's not this entire board's fault that the contract didn't come before us until April. So I just want to point that out as well.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Thank you. Thanks to David and everybody being here. As has been mentioned, I've had the pleasure the last couple of years serving on the 2.5 years, I guess now, serving on the Midwest Small Business Finance Committee with David and Julie and Ethan and Bruce and a whole bunch of good folks. And totally concur that organization and the EDC as a whole does a lot of good work. And I appreciate the presentation today about all the things you guys are working on. And to the extent that doing those on a more quarterly basis or whatever, that would be informative for everybody. I think that would only be good and strengthen the ties and the relationships between folks. It's been mentioned a few times that there's sort of a history of bad blood, and there is, I guess, going back like a decade if you go back to the EDA stuff, which is all before certainly my time and most of the members of the commission's time. The more recent history has been positive. We've had good steady funding the last several years, which I'd like us to find a path to doing that again. I think finding the path to getting you guys the funds is a good thing. I think ultimately it was one just sort of confusion that's happened, and I'll even acknowledge, even as I sit here now, I'm still a little unclear as to what the exact series of events was. But basically, it was suggested that we're going to get a second seat on the executive board. And then at some point, it was less clear whether that had been agreed to or not. And then it was told that, we started hearing perhaps that we weren't going to get a second seat on the executive board. I will say from my position, I don't care if we get a second position on the executive board or not. I don't think it will make too tremendous of a difference one way or the other. And so for me, it's just a matter of that, I think, perhaps has caused some confusion and hard feelings because there was the impression that we're getting the second seat, and then there was the impression that that had been withdrawn. And I think that's all this comes down to. From my perspective, I'd like to get you all the funding, and if that's with one seat on the executive board or two, either way works for me. But obviously there is concern around what is perceived anyway to be the withdrawn second seat. And so whatever the commission's desire is today, if there's a path that everybody's comfortable with that gets the EDC their funding, and that whatever y'all want to do in terms of the membership assignments to the board is good with me. I've heard interesting ideas today, and I just want to say that I think we can do it. It's just a matter of coming to some kind of agreement here and moving this forward. And hopefully in the future years, I fully expect in the future years that this will be a less challenging endeavor for us.
Commissioner Withington.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve 2023-231. But also I would like next year I would like to have a conversation with the entire body, with you guys, about possibly changing the executive board from the presiding commissioner to a commissioner elected by this body.
That would require bylaw
I
change, but I'm
understand
sure
that.
we'd be open to discussion.
Yeah, that's why I said I'd like to discuss that with you. But as for right now, I'd like to make a motion that we accept or that we approve 2023-231.
Okay, motion has been, excuse me, I had to read through this a little. Motion has been made for the approval of 2023-231 to repeal 2023-153 and approve the revised 2023 professional services contract with Clay County Economic Development Council. Motion has been made. Discussion, Commissioner Wagner?
I was going to make the same motion.
I kind of thought so, but I wanted to recognize you.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I'm just going to say that it probably passed, but I'm not going to support this. And I'm not going to support it because of the way this has gone down. I think I don't know if there's anything nefarious going on behind the scenes or what, but I just don't think it's clean. And so I don't like it. And so I'm going to vote against it.
Further discussion? Seeing none. Anyone from the audience wish to comment? Again, seeing none. Commissioner Withington, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Withington? Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
No.
Commissioner Lawson?
I'm not happy with this. I'm really very unhappy with it. Can I abstain?
Yes, I believe an abstention would be in order.
Okay, abstain.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Next on the agenda is 2023-229, Administrator.
Resolution 2023-229 is approving a professional services agreement with H.W. Lochner Incorporated for airport engineering consulting services, and acting airport manager Davis is here to provide information.
Please proceed.
John Davis, interim manager at the airport. This year, our current engineering contract expires, so staff has went out for proposals for engineering consultants. They'll cover projects like our runways and lighting, any instrument issues, and then upcoming other projects like our creek stabilization, which will probably start next year. After proposals come in, H.W. Lochner was selected through scoring by staff.
Okay. Are there any questions? Yeah, are there any questions? Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Move to approve 2023-229.
Motion has been made for approval of 2023-229. Further discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Next on our agenda is 2023-230, Administrator.
Resolution 2023-230 is approving professional services agreement with H.W. Lochner Incorporated for airport planning and environmental consulting services. And acting airport manager Davis is here to provide information.
Please proceed.
John Davis, interim manager at the airport. Same thing as last resolution. Contract expired, but this year MoDOT and FAA have decided that they would separate some of the consult requirements that used to be under engineering would be cover planning and environmental consult. This year they're wanting to separate some of those, so now you have two.
Questions? Seeing none, is there a motion on 2023-230? Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Move to approve 2023-230.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2023-230. Further discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
I close. And I'll vote aye if that helps you along. So.
Yes, Commissioner Wagner, aye. Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
That concludes our regular agenda. That brings us to discussion items. First discussion item is highway update presentation. Administrator?
Thank you, Commissioners. As you're aware, once a month, we invite departments to come forward and give a brief update to the Commission on activities and functions of that department. And we have two for this evening. The first one is the highway update presentation by Terry Griffin, who is our highway administrator.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Terry Griffin, Highway Administrator. Terry Griffin, Highway Administrator. Try again. So, we have had some of this conversation before, but we'll go over a couple of things. The Clay County Highway Department is responsible to maintain, repair, replace, and improve 377 linear miles or 754 lane miles of roadway and the associated infrastructure in unincorporated Clay County. We discussed road preservation a few weeks ago and talked about how the fact that if the road lanes are extended in a straight line, they would extend 754 miles and would stretch from Liberty to beyond Albuquerque, New Mexico. The county has roads with asphalt, chip seal, and gravel surfaces. Paved surfaces are almost equally divided between asphalt and chip seal surfaces and comprise 90% of all of our roads. 10% of the roads have a gravel surface. The department is responsible for 70 bridges, 248 concrete boxes, 1,648 tube or pipe culverts, and over 6,000 warning, regulatory, and directional signs. What this means in practical terms is that for a driver on our rural roads, on average, for every 5 miles they drive, they will cross 1 bridge, 3 concrete box culverts, 22 pipe or tube culverts, and they will pass 80 signs, half of which will face the driver himself and the other half the oncoming traffic. Infrastructure and maintenance repair is a year-round process for the Highway Department, and there is never a shortage of tasks. All road surfaces need repairs. Gravel roads need blading on a regular basis. Repairing potholes on hard surface roads is done using a variety of methods based on the surface type of the road, the depth of the pothole, and the severity of the damage. Tree trimming to keep branches from overgrowing roads takes place from fall through winter and on into spring. Mowing of county right-of-ways continues from spring through fall to prevent roadway encroachment of brush and weeds. Aging culvert pipes must be replaced as they fall into disrepair. With about 10% of our culvert pipes in need of replacement in the next few years, multiple replacements are planned each year. In ditches, overgrowth and silt must be cleaned out and the ditches reshaped to drain water efficiently. Inspections of roads, bridges, culverts, and other infrastructure are completed regularly. All signs are repaired and regularly replaced. New subdivisions must be inspected before being accepted into 2-year developer maintenance and again before being accepted into full-time county maintenance. Driveway locations are inspected for safety before a permit can be issued. From late spring through summer, field staff time is devoted to resurfacing projects. Chip seal surface roads are carefully prepared to accept a new seal surface. Asphalt and microsurface contractors apply surfaces to improve and preserve roadways. Through the winter, snow and ice storms take priority over any other work. Snow plows and spreaders are loaded onto dump trucks, salt sand mix is loaded into spreaders, and trucks head out to clear roads safely and efficiently. After the storm, plows and spreaders are removed so the trucks can be used for other tasks until the next storm when it all begins again. The highway shop maintains and repairs all of the vehicles and equipment for the department, from chainsaws to pickups, backhoes, loaders, motor graders, chip spreaders, dump trucks, and so on. Additionally, the highway department shop also maintains and repairs vehicles and equipment for facilities management, trails, IT, P&Z, historic sites, and other departments. Last year, highway mechanics labored a total of nearly 700 hours repairing equipment for other departments, which is the equivalent of about 4 months of a full-time person. 2023 is on track for about the same number of hours worked for other departments. The Highway Department also provides fuel for highway vehicles and equipment, as well as for the sheriff and other county departments. Administrative staff at Highway is responsible for the asset management system, which tracks completed road and infrastructure tasks and equipment repairs. The asset management system is also used to record resident requests so we can follow up on needed infrastructure maintenance. Staff tracks the status of contractor projects as well as grant or BRO applications and reporting, and processes payments to suppliers and levy payments to cities and special road districts. GIS mapping showing roads and infrastructure promotes informed decision-making and improves communication internally and with residents. Supplies are purchased for the department for a wide variety of items: paper clips and pins, vehicle parts, tires, transmission, fuel, filters, dump trucks, and all types of construction equipment. The Highway Department currently has 25 employees. Additionally, there are 5 vacant operator positions open right now, which is a 30% vacancy rate in our field staff. This low staffing level has remained constant for more than 2 years. Although the positions are advertised continuously, we see very few applications, and it seems like every time we hire a new employee, we have one who leaves. In the last 18 months, the Highway Department has completed the replacement of 4 bridges. The bridges on Northeast 188th Street and Greenwood Road were paid using bond proceeds and were partially reimbursed through the BRO program. The 112th Street Bridge was completed with general operating budget funds, and the Lancaster Road Bridge was completed with bond funds. Currently, the county has 1 bridge in construction on Northeast 148th Street. We have 1 bridge in design engineering on Stockdale Road, and we have 1 bridge on Old 210, which is closed, but which will be replaced as soon as funding can be found. Culverts replaced in the last 18 months include box culverts on Northeast 140th Street, WHB Road, and Oakmont Drive. Highway staff replaced 20 culvert pipes in 2022 and have replaced 12 so far this year. We expect to replace several more additional pipe culverts before the end of the year. Construction of a concrete box culvert on Jesse James Farm Road is underway and will be completed in the next few weeks. Commission approval to use ARPA funding for several projects has been a great benefit to the department. These before and after photos show the perimeter fencing at the Highway Department that was replaced, new floor in the shop office, and the stabilized concrete floor in the shop. A number of projects have also been funded using ARPA stormwater funds. The project Rush Creek at Rains Road replaced an unstable stormwater structure and repaired eroded stream banks. Clear Creek at Plattsburgh Road repaired a damaged drainage structure that blocked stormwater flow and caused erosion of a protective embankment. In April, the Commission approved the construction contract for Decker Construction to replace the existing stormwater structure over Mother's Head Creek at Old BB Road using plans and specifications from Burns and McDonnell Engineering. Construction materials have been ordered and construction will start later this year. Similar structure replacements and string bank repairs will be made at Crockett Creek at Long Ridge Road and Carroll Creek at Endicott Road. Cook Flat and Strobel Engineering is designing a new structure that will eliminate a dangerous low-water crossing on Northeast 137th Street at Brushy Creek using ARPA funds. They are also creating plans to correct nearby culvert crossings that flood frequently. Plans are about 50% complete and are expected to be completed later this year. Alfred Benish Company has completed the assessment and preliminary recommendations to correct stormwater issues on the branch of Fishing River at Riverbend Estates. 4 structures will be repaired or replaced at present. The assessment found additional locations that are recommended for repair, but which will be delayed for now. Final design is underway, and when complete, the project will move into construction. Beanstra & Kim is designing a new structure and plans to realign the stream to prevent further stormwater erosion and create a long-term solution and a safer crossing on a branch of Holmes Creek at Northeast 112th Street. The final ARPA stormwater project is the repair of a collapsed stream bank on Fishing River at Nation Road. Beanstra & Kim Engineering is designing the repair and stabilization of the stream bank. Final plan design is expected later this year, and construction is expected in 2024. This has been a very brief look at the Highway Department. Staff is working diligently to keep up with road and infrastructure maintenance, resident requests, and construction projects. There's never a shortage of tasks for the Highway Department. I would be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to ask, that's great, thank you. But sometime back, Commissioner Worthington asked if we could have a projection of what roads were going to be fixed and, what was on the schedule. Because all too often what happens is people call me or any of the other commissioners, and they start chewing on us about, hey, my road looks like heck, and, all that stuff. If I could look at a document and say, hey, your road is scheduled for September or whatever, that would shut them up. And, and they would be happy, and that's all I want is for them to be happy. And that way they aren't wondering when it's going to be fixed. I would like to see some kind of a list that tells me, what are you going to do? When are you going to do it? Now, I know some things like 112th you talked about, and that's an important one. But I'd like to know about some of the others. So is that something that we could get?
All of the resurfacing and preservation road projects that we talked about a few weeks ago are now posted on the website, and as we get them scheduled and are close enough to scheduling that we feel like we can be confident of the dates, the dates will be added to that. But all of the roads are now, all of the road preservation and resurfacing are now on the Highway Department website.
They're on the internet now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and where do you go to see it?
To the Clay County website, and then go to the Highway Department and you'll find it there.
Highway Department? Okay, great. Thank you.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you, and thanks for the great informative report, as usual. One question that it prompted for me was, I think it was when we saw the line of that goes all the way to Albuquerque. We sometimes talk from time to time about the addition of new roads due to new developments. We've had a few, not too many, but I guess my question is, in our experience, how has that obligation grown over time? And I guess, how soon will we be hitting Santa Fe or perhaps Phoenix down the road?
I guess that depends on how many new subdivisions with interior streets are added to the county road system. Of course, after a subdivision is approved by the commission here, for 2 years, it's under developer maintenance, which is the developer's responsibility. After
Right.
that, it becomes the responsibility of the county. So all we can say is we have so many under developer maintenance right now, and I don't have those numbers in front of me, but in 2 years, those will be county responsibility.
Sure, and I would understand, that may not be ready, but I'd be curious the next time you come before us if there is an opportunity to see what that looks like as we talk about new obligations, and I expect that there will be more asks for subdivisions and not fewer in the future. Just having an understanding of what we're looking like over the next 2 to 3 or whatever years, just to have a sense of what kind of growth we are seeing and will see, I think would be very handy, at least for me. So thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next on our discussion items is Human Resources Update Presentation. Administrator?
Thank you. Yes, continuing on to hear a little bit about our departments and their activities. We have the Human Resources Department, and Director Callahan is here to present to the Commission.
Oh, good evening, or afternoon, is it evening yet? It's Kim Callahan, HR Director. Let's see. There we go. Okay. HR is the backbone of any successful organization. We're responsible for managing the most important asset of the county, its employees. HR moved to the Quick Building at 16 West Franklin Street in August of 2021. That's just a block south of the admin building. Right now, we employ 496 full-time employees. We have 48 part-time and 12 elected. Our staff, myself as the director, I have Lori Rodriguez that handles workers' comps and benefit. Amy Gilmore handles recruiting. Roxanne Pistol handles payroll, unemployment, and tuition reimbursement. And Donna Mays, our newest employee, handles the wellness. She's our wellness coordinator. This is the organizational chart, which clearly illustrates we all answer to the citizens of Clay County. Under that defines all the different departments that HR strives to serve on a daily basis. Currently, we have 4 to 5 generations in the workplace. These percentages are nationwide right now, but I'm going to give you our numbers. Traditionalists, those are aged 98 to 78. We do have 1 person. Baby boomers, age 77 to 59, we have 103 right now. Generation X, which is ages 58 to 43, we employ 214 right now. Millennials, 215, that's age 42 to 23. And 22 and under, Generation Z, we have 23, actually 22. In 2 weeks, I just found out, they're moving on. But I thought that was interesting for you to see the generations that we have in our workplace right now. In recruitment, we strive to attract and retain top talent. This shows you the numbers from 2019 to 2023. The green is the new hires, and the yellow is the separations. So 2019 was pre-pandemic. 2020 is when COVID hit. We were shut down for 2 weeks, and ever since then, it's just been, not been normal. And you can see in 2023, it's starting to level out. Right now, we've got more new hires than we have exits. And we're trying to keep it that way. So we have implemented exit interviews to take a deeper look at workplace culture and areas we can improve day-to-day processes. Our recruitment resources. We just started doing job fairs again this year because of COVID restrictions. So we have started back doing those. We have outside recruiters, temp service that we use, which is PenMac and At Work, and they're mostly seasonal for parks during the summer and sometimes for the collector when we have tax season. We use trade resources for specific areas. In parks, the Missouri Park and Rec Association, the Golf Association, the APA, the American Planning Association. It just depends on what position that we're looking for. We use different trade resources. We do post on college job boards at Metro Community College, Park U, Missouri Western, MU, UMKC, and Jewel. Social networking, we're using Twitter, LinkedIn, and also Facebook. The county website and online job boards, our jobs are posted 100% on our website and on online job boards. ZipRecruiter and Indeed is our biggest contributor to new employees right now. Our payroll. We have 26 payroll cycles per year. Our average payroll is 1.2 million, which adds up to a little over 30 million per year. Our payroll processes all new hire status changes and terminations, and our ADP, which is our payroll processing system. Benefits, we try to keep our benefits competitive. Right now we have 3 medical plans. We have 2 high deductible. We have dental, vision, long-term disability, short-term disability. We do carry life insurance on every full-time employee in the amount of 2 times the employee's current salary, which maxes out at $250,000. We do have a generous paid holiday schedule. A new hire receives 2 weeks vacation per year, and that increases over time at 4-year increments. And right now, everyone receives up to 2.5 weeks sick time per year, and that maxes out at 1,000 hours. We do have 2 retirement plans. We have Loggers, which is the Missouri Local Government Employees Retirement System. You have to work at least 5 full consecutive years of service to be vested. SURF is its County Employees Retirement Fund. you have to work 8 consecutive years of service to be vested in SURF. We have a voluntary retirement program, SURF 457B, that matches a portion of the employee's savings. That's 50 cents on a dollar up to 4%. That's through SURF. We support the 5 pillars of well-being and our well-being programs. Physical is, this year we started Healthy Lunches, it was actually last year. We do with a dietitian, we go to different departments and provide healthy lunches and a talk about healthy lunches, breakfast. We just provided, it was 160 healthy breakfasts to the sheriff department in the last month. In April, we sponsored a 5K run walk in Excelsior, and actually our auditor, Victor Holbert, won that. So that was pretty awesome. Our employees are very generous in their charity. This year or last year, they donated over 9 pounds leftover Halloween candy that was sent to an organization that sent them out to the servicemen and women. At Christmas time, our employees donated over 200 caps, coats, and gloves to an organization that, again, sent them out to the needy. So, also last year in 2022, we started the Ramsey Smart Dollar to help employees stretch their dollar. Every year we do a biometric screening and flu shots. That's usually in the fall. In May, we do a Public Service Recognition Week. This year, we provided for all departments snack tubs, coupons for Iceberg's Gelato, Cowtown mini donut truck came on the square. And this was a small investment in our employees that recruits significant rewards and leads to a more committed workforce. Our recreational and social well-being, you guys are all part of our Employee Recognition Awards this year. And on our new website, there will be a form that is up all year long, an employee recognition form that people can fill out all year long to recognize another employee. And on your desk, there is the July sun safety items that were sent to all the employees. This is a sunscreen and the lip balm. And we're able to provide these by funds from our medical benefits provider to keep our employees safe and healthy. And last but not least, employee development. We have CPR AED training. We had it in April, and we have a class in July that our employees get certified every 2 years. We have continuing education reimbursement. We reimburse college degree coursework up to $5,250 per year, or professional certificate programs at $2,500 per year. And also leadership training and online webinars. Unfortunately, in-person training has doubled since last year. In the end, we want to encourage our employees to grow and learn, which can ultimately lead to better services to our county residents. Our future focus, become the employer of choice. What's the employer of choice? A company that candidates want to work for. Defining characteristics, strong leadership, competitive pay, engaged workers, meaningful work, attractive company culture. We want to create a thriving workplace that attracts and retains top talent and drives success. Along with all county departments, we want to contain cost, keep turnover low, promote healthy, happy workforce, which in turn lowers health costs, and happy employees provide better services to our county residents. And lastly, I want to thank the commissioners for your continued support. And I want to thank Diana Wright, our county administrator, for her leadership and direction. And I'm available for any questions.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, thank you, ma'am, for that presentation. Just a quick question, sorry if I missed it. How many employees are you down in HR?
Well, how many openings do we have right now? If you look at the job postings, we probably have 12 right now. But like in the highway department, like she said, she has 5 openings. There's 2 operators, There's an operator 1. We don't even have the operator 2 posted right now. There's positions that aren't even posted.
But just in your shop alone, in HR, how many are we down? Are you down employees in HR?
We don't have any vacancies.
You don't have any vacancies?
Oh, no, in HR?
In HR?
No, we're
Okay.
full.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, I misunderstood you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thanks.
That brings us to our third discussion item. Administrator?
Yes, thank you. This is on a follow-up from last week's discussion regarding the regular commission meeting schedule. I think commission had some discussion, and one of the things that you'd asked staff to do is to do a survey of those individuals that either come on a regular basis or periodically come and present before the commission. Due to the holiday and a little bit of mix-up, the survey didn't go out until this morning. We did include 26 employees in the survey. So that includes everyone who comes on a regular basis, those that come periodically to present to the commission, also sent it to office holders and some of their key staff that also come and present to the commission. So there were 26 surveys that were sent out. This morning, we've received 16 back as of around noon today. And so at your place setting, you have the summary of what was received in those surveys. We asked basically around 2 types of questions. Number 1 is if the meetings were moved to Thursday and the schedule remains the same, 2 in the afternoon and 2 in the evening, what would the impact be on county operations? And what would the impact be on any personnel, personal aspects of their lives? The second section questions that were asked were if the meetings are moved to all-night meetings, meaning no afternoon meetings, but they're all 6 o'clock meetings. Again, would there be and what would be any operational issues or changes that would need to occur? And then what impact may it have on their personal lives? So again, there's just kind of the summary there. Changing to Thursday meetings versus Wednesday from an operational standpoint. An issue was raised with regard to accounts payable. The accounts payable come to the commission at your meetings to approve the bills. Once you approve those on Wednesday, then we're quickly in the process on Thursday of getting those payments out the door. So delaying it to a Thursday action by the commission moves things down to a Friday and then potentially a Monday. So we have one less day in the week to process it. Doesn't mean it's not doable, it just means process will have to be looked at and things will have to change on timing aspect. The other thing that was mentioned, and I'm going down the list, just kind of highlighting some things. The annual fall festival that usually happens here around the squares, usually they take it over on Thursdays. That happens one time a year. Certainly could impact if it's a Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening, because the square would be closed down for people to get to attend that meeting. One of the questions came up of looking at this room. And were there any routine meetings that happened on Thursday, either in the day or in the evening? Yes, this room has been used on Thursdays in the afternoon and evening. However, none of them seem to be recurring type of meetings. And so if your meetings are moved to Thursday, we simply block off this and make an accommodate, and we can maybe move those to Wednesday. So again, that's certainly not insurmountable. From a personal perspective that staff shared, again, nothing new that was kind of mentioned last week. We have some that will have childcare issues that they'll need to deal with, or childcare activities of taking kids and picking them up and getting them to programs. 4 did respond that they have personal commitments on Thursdays that might have to change. And 6 out of the 16 that responded, again, 16 responses came in by noon today, that 6 said makes no difference if you move from Wednesday to Thursday. When it came to Thursday, just in general, one comment came back and said, if you move them to Thursdays, then even keeping the same schedule, then I'll get Wednesday nights and I can go to church. And then one said, Thursdays are more difficult, that's a busier day of the week. So again, not uncommon, right? There's not going to be a perfect day and time that works for everybody. When it came to talk about changing the times to all evenings, from an operational standpoint, same operational issues that were mentioned, moving from Wednesday to Thursday. If they were Thursday at all in the evening, those operational items are still the same. There are no additional ones. If they're all-night meetings, we had 6 that did say they'd have childcare, child activity issues. 5 said they would have personal commitments they would have to change. 4 said no really significant impact. They would just like as much sufficient notice as possible so they can make whatever changes they needed. Then we asked for some overall comments. And so not uncommon, we had 7 responses that said they would prefer if they were all-day meetings. 8 responded that they would recommend staying on the schedule 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Again, comments that we've had is we have staff members who not only come to this commission meetings, but they also have other night meetings, whether it's planning and zoning, park board, or airport. And so adding more night meetings, again, just impacts their family and the ability to be with their families. And again, out of 20 work days, you know, if you had 5 to 6 night meetings a month, that's 25% of your time are longer days. We did receive that we have applicants, whether it's P&Z or those that come and ask, you know, for consideration of taxes. When we get things that are not time sensitive, we usually give the applicant and the resident a choice. Would they like to come to the afternoon meeting or would they like to be scheduled for an evening meeting? So it does provide that flexibility. We also have someone that said, you know, going to all evening meetings will allow citizens a better opportunity to attend more meetings. And the one comment, which I think is the last we want to leave with, is whatever the commission decides, we will make it work.
Commissioner Thompson, I believe this was your discussion item, so I'll let you go ahead and kick off this part of it. Please go ahead.
Thank you. No, I brought this up because I thought we could just come into the room and have a very open and transparent conversation about our meeting times. Previously, when we selected our times for the 3 and the 6 o'clock meetings, we were a small body of 3, and now there's 7 of us with very different lives and things that go on throughout the day and trying to find a time that works for everyone. And I know there was a conversation of bringing up possibly Thursdays, since we don't have a lot of other outside responsibilities for the commission, boards, and whatnots that fall on that evenings. It seemed to work well, I think, with some of the other commissioners. I'm very much open to continue this conversation. If somebody has another time or a date that would work, I'm open. I just thought it'd be a good way to just sit down and have a conversation and see what would work for everybody. I know for what I've been hearing is Thursdays would work, but I'm open to feel it out.
Commissioner Lawson. Oops.
I just question, Diana, for those individuals, as an example, I'll just use some of you wonderful folks out there. Like today, I see Donna from Parks. I see our IT individual. I see Mr. Wonderful Kip over there. And we've got, like those folks, why do they even need to be here tonight?
Sure.
I think maybe they come just as a, you know, because out of responsibility, and nobody's saying you better be there. But I think that if there are probably a number of people who don't need to be here, that would help maybe lessen the problem. On the part, I see what you're saying about like the different reports and salaries and all of the, you know, the money issues that you had concerns about. But as far as staff itself, are there a good number of them that wouldn't have to be here at all?
Well, first of all, with our technology issues and needs, we always have IT. There always needs to be representation from IT. The other issue with some of our directors that are here, we do have them come simply because if there are commission questions that come up, a question from the public, then we can give a good response, and otherwise, we're not having to delay it another week.
Yeah.
I think we were counting, I think there are 7 individuals that are usually here every meeting. Other individuals that you see here come because they have either items on the agenda or something of interest. Everyone that you're looking at back here, I'm probably going to get daggers, they're all exempt employees. So those are not from a financial aspect to the county. However, there is the employer of choice that we're trying to be, and it is, very important to us that our employees have that work-life balance. And so we're just trying to accommodate those items.
I'm with you.
Commissioner Carpenter. I'm sorry, Commissioner Withington, I didn't mean to skip over you.
Yeah, so talking to Commissioner Thompson and others, I would like to, I don't know if make a motion or whatever, that we consider 7 PM on Thursdays.
I don't know if making a motion would be in order, but certainly making that suggestion and then getting consensus from the commission to have staff research, that would certainly be in order.
Well, I don't know why we would need staff to research it. It's our commission meeting. So I think we're the ones that set the time. So I would like to see what the commission thinks about Thursdays at 7 PM.
Okay. Commissioner Carpenter.
Thank you. First of all Mr. and Mrs. Wonderful out there, not just good. No, for me, I have the privilege of can make any time work, and so whatever, I think our only baseline responsibility is to make sure that these meetings are open and available to the public and transparent in that way. So as long as we're meeting that baseline threshold, that works for me. So whatever I think works for, the largest number of the commission is probably what we ought to do, as long as it meets that criteria. And so I will just say, have no preference really at all, and can make any time work. I know that's not particularly helpful, other than good with whatever the majority of the commission selects.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. So, most of the things that I see in this document is surmountable. The one that does give me pause is how this affects the number of nights people have to be here. I say that because I've got a person who will be staying until 9 o'clock at my place of business. She works for me. She will be covering an ESL class that she covers every Wednesday. I cover the Tuesday ones. I get 12-hour days from time to time. So I understand the hours. I've got folks who will work this Saturday, who I will have to make up their time during the week. And so I do take some notice when we start to say or potentially increase the number of nights, because generally your days don't go away, they just continue to go. I take some notice of the discussions that we've had just a moment ago about being the employer of choice. And that's not to say that I think we should not go in a Thursday evening direction, but I also don't come to that I don't necessarily jump into that pool and just say, bring it, because I do think there is some effect that potentially has. And I would certainly say, I know what I do every Wednesday night to a person that works for me. I don't want to start meetings at 7 o'clock. I don't see why we would do that, quite honestly. I would suggest, though, if there are other time commitments out there, one doesn't have to start a meeting at 3 o'clock. One can always start it earlier, whether it's at 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock or whatever. So I know we have gone in this direction, and I know there is no survey that says what I've just suggested has any relevance at all. But I do suggest that there are always other alternatives, and just starting earlier is an alternative. And again, the other thing I also notice as we talk about evenings is I don't necessarily see people breaking the door down to attend our 6 o'clocks, which suggests to me that unless there is an issue of some importance that gets people out, we will continue to see fewer people showing up. Although I do notice that the number of people from the last report, the number of people who check us out online has grown, and that's good. That's at least says there is some interest. Whether they're interested enough to come here at 6 o'clock may be another matter. So I just throw out there that being an employer of choice does mean you can't work everyone evenings all the time. I would throw out there that we've looked later, but we can also look earlier in the day, I think. And I'll just stop with those things. But as I said last time, I'm not going to be teaching on Thursday evening, so I can do Thursday evening if that's the will of the group. Thank you.
Commissioner Lawson.
Okay, I don't have a problem with Thursday night. I've got no children at home. I've got Jay, who's like having 5 children, but that's it. And so for me, it wouldn't be an issue. One of the good things I see about the evening is that we have so many people, like sometimes we'll have subdivisions and things of that nature. These are people that probably work during the day. They'll come at 3 if they must, but this would make it a little easier for those individuals who work day hours, which is I think most people. And then this way they could come in the evening. So I see the problem with the staff. I have concerns for them, but as far as changing it to the Thursday evening, no problem for me at all.
To follow up on Commissioner Lawson's point, yeah, we could run into some longer meetings. There's at least one issue that we will probably be taking up coming through planning and zoning that will be pretty controversial. There'll be a lot of people and they will want to be heard. So I would just point out that a 7 p.m. meeting with that particular issue on there, in addition to the other issues we have, could get to be a rather late meeting. So just want to advise commissioners of that potentiality. Further discussion. Commissioner Thompson, I want to kind of go back to you since it's your discussion item. I didn't want to leave you out.
No, I appreciate that. And I will say, I appreciate the report as well. I think it's important to get feedback from not just the people up here I think it's important for everybody in the room to have a say in what's going to happen and give us some feedback. This was just a way to get the conversation started. I'm open to evenings. I know that there's a lot of commissioners that have things that come up during the day and we have other obligations. I would love to be able to continue this conversation. Maybe we can come to a consensus that would work for everybody. But I also want to make sure that if employees that stay and they have to come to meetings, that they are being fairly compensated for their time. And if that is making sure they have comp time that they can use later on. I know previously in another life when I sat out here and I did this, and we would also have to have these evening meetings and we would go to interesting locations to have these meetings. We would make sure that anyone who came with me, they would be compensated for that and they would have the adequate time off to make up for that. So, I'm okay with if we want to move forward and talking about it, if we want to put something on the agenda for next week or.
Can I go ahead and recognize Commissioner
Yes,
Lawson,
please.
and then we'll come back, and then we will, if you would like to take up the recommendation made by Commissioner Withington or adjust it, we can have that discussion, establish a consensus, and then instruct staff. Does that sound like a fair process going forward? Very well. Commissioner Lawson.
Okay, yeah, and if you wanted to do it that way and delay it and have more discussion, that's fine with me too. You know, here's the bottom line. I know we could be here late, but realistically, I'm here many days a week, but realistically, we only have to be here today, you know, 1 day a week. And if it means that we come at 7 and we stay till 11, big deal. You know, it's just 1 day out of our week. So I'm good with however you want to do it. I'll accommodate you. So.
By the way, just to clarify what I'd said when I piggybacked on your remark before was they can get late, and your estimate of 11 o'clock is probably not out of line. And it's not so much, my concern is not so much related to the 7 of us, but what kind of burden that will be putting on staff. So that was, I didn't really say that probably as clearly as I could have. Oh, no, I know we all do, but I just point that out so that we understand the consequences.
Hey, Jerry.
Yes, did you need to be recognized? Go right ahead.
You know, another thing, while we're talking about staff, I'd like to see us come up with a PTO policy or a policy where we close down the county. I know as the presiding commissioner, you make the call on when the county closes, correct?
I don't believe so.
I thought if we had bad weather, you were the one who made that decision? Is that just during bad weather?
I believe that is in conjunction with others, so it's
Okay,
not solely
well,
mine.
Okay, I would like to see us develop a policy of giving our staff, like on Monday, I think we should have probably closed down the courthouse at noon, maybe, to let our staff enjoy the holiday. I propose that. I would like to see us work with HR and Administrator Diana about coming up with a policy to let our staff enjoy the holiday a little bit early.
Well, certainly that is a discussion worthy of expanded. It is not strictly speaking within the discussion item
I know,
noticed
we were
up,
talking
but
about
if
being
you'd like
employer
to,
choice, people kept mentioning that, and PTO.
but if you'd like to put that on for a future discussion item, certainly I think that would be
Well, I
highly
think
appropriate.
Administrator Diana is working on that, but I just wanted to make sure that we, as a commission, support that policy.
Very well. Commissioner Thompson, did you want to go ahead and make some kind of a recommendation that we would then get consensus on from the commission to instruct staff on how to proceed?
Yes, Commissioner. I would recommend that we move forward with commission meetings being placed on Thursdays at 7 p.m. And if that's a problem, then we can always reevaluate and find a better solution. But I think if we have consensus.
By way of clarification, when you say meetings to Thursdays, are you talking about 4 Thursdays out of the month so that if there was a fourth Thursday, that Thursday would not be? So you're talking about the same schedule as far as our number of meetings a month?
Yes,
I'm
Commissioner.
sure that's what you
Yes, no,
mean,
of
but I
course,
thought it was
yes.
good to at least say it out loud.
Yes, and really this only makes one change to 2 of our meetings a month, as they will just put them into the evening, but yes.
So what you're proposing is all meetings would be Thursdays?
Yes.
I'm sorry, 7
p.m.,
Thursdays, 7 p.m., 4 times a month.
4 times a month.
Great, okay, good. With that, if there's any further discussion, but I think it might not be a bad idea just to go around the dais here and see what the thoughts are from the commissioners. And then if we have a consensus, we will make sure that staff has the proper instruction to go forward if that is the consensus of the commission. I'll start on the left with Commissioner Johnson. Is that, do you feel like that is a good direction for us to go in?
I will make myself available to whatever best for everybody. I don't really care. I'm retired. I can make it work. So whatever's best for the majority, I'm on board.
Okay. Commissioner Carpenter.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Like I said before, open to all times, and if this works best for Commissioner Thompson and our fellow commissioners, then I'm open to that and any other suggestion for changes of times, and that includes in the future. If we, come to a future point in which it needs to change again, I will let you know if it changes, but from my end, I'm open to any time changes and date changes. Thanks.
For my part, I feel pretty much as though my schedule has a good deal of flexibility. My main concern on this is that it puts a burden on staff and makes it more difficult for them. So I'm not in favor of going forward with this particular proposal, although I would be open to others that might have different times. But I think we need to be more sensitive to the needs of staff. Commissioner Wagner, what is your thought?
Well, since I said I'm open Thursday nights, I can't really get out of that one. I do share the same concerns related to staff, and I still don't understand 7 o'clock. I'm not sure what the reason is for moving 6 to 7. And quite honestly, if it's 7, I'm not sure I would support that. But I can be convinced if I understand the reason. As we all can, right? Very well, thank you.
Commissioner Lawson, I just want to see if your mic was still open. I don't believe it is. Would you like to express?
Oh, is it?
No, it's not open. You can go ahead and push your button.
Oh.
There we go. Please, go ahead.
That's fine with me. If it works for everybody, you know how agreeable I am. It'll be fine with me, yeah.
Commissioner Withington.
Yeah, I'm fine with the proposal, 7 Thursdays.
While it's not unanimous, there does seem to be consensus. I'm sorry, Administrator, were you going to say something?
Just a clarification, for lead time, what effective date are you proposing if we're bringing something forward that you would vote on next week? We'd like to put an effective date.
That is a good point. What would be, just from an operational point of view, what would be the amount of time, given the fact that, you know, if we've got people lined up for meetings in the future, what is there a staff recommendation that when a good starting time might be?
We would say, because of planning and zoning, which are really the cases, and we typically announce at a meeting at planning and zoning when it would come forward to the commission, a date and time, I would suggest possibly the first meeting of August.
First,
Does that work?
first meeting of August, so that would be roughly 3 weeks. Is that make sense, Commissioner Thompson?
That is fine.
Okay, so yes, with that caveat, does anyone have a problem with that start date? Okay. So we appear to have some rough consensus. Do we as a commission then want to see that put in the form of a resolution and brought before us to take up and consider? Is that, because I want to see if staff, I want to make sure the staff understands. Is that what you're looking for, is whether we need to put that in resolution form?
I was assuming that was the direction that you were asking us
And that's
to
why
go.
I'm wanting to confirm that so that we have clear direction
That
for
would be
staff.
something for you all to vote on at the next meeting.
So that would mean that we would be taking it up at the next meeting and possibly passing it. That would give 2 weeks until it would then go into effect in August, correct? Roughly.
Well, it would be on next week's agenda for you to vote on in your regular agenda. It's up to you whether you want to pass it or it takes to the second meeting. But we would write the resolution saying, beginning with the first meeting in August, that the meetings would be, regular business meetings would be Thursday at 7 p.m.
Is that pretty much what you had in mind, Commissioner Thompson?
I'm comfortable with that. I know previously when we have changed our meeting times, we've just sought after consensus from the commission, and then things have just, we changed them. So I'm happy with whatever the process everyone feels comfortable with.
I'm just going to go around for head nods, and if you want to comment, just give me a high sign. Does that sound good with commissioners up here? Okay, I'm getting head nods all around, so that is, I believe, the instruction of the commission, the consensus of the commission. Does that give you sufficient instruction? Very well. That concludes the discussion items. That brings us to administrator comments. If you have something you'd like to say, County Administrator, please proceed.
Just one item, and that is the next regular business meeting is next Wednesday, July 12th at 6 p.m. here in the chambers.
Very good. That brings us to commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Withington this time. If you have anything you'd like to say, Commissioner?
You know, voting on 2023-231, that was a really tough vote for me. I'm tempted to make a motion to reconsider. Without attacking our presiding commissioner, I feel like we were misled. I don't know if it was intentional or what, but I'm really sick at the decision, my vote. I'm kind of disappointed in myself, actually, for making that decision without kicking it back to them with an amendment to have a different commissioner on the executive board. I don't want to have this discussion in July next year. So I'm going to make it perfectly clear right now that next year, that we start this discussion now, that next year, that if we do renew the contract with the EDC, that our presiding commissioner is not on the executive board. I think that a lot of the problems and the miscommunication that we've had are because of the presiding commissioner. And I think that that's probably one of the reasons why our presiding commissioner said that they think that we had a bad business partner with them. And like I said,
that vote has really made me sick, and I really am seriously considering calling for a vote to reconsider with that. But, yeah, so that's where I'm at. That's all I have to say.
Commissioner Lawson. Oh, there you go. Sorry, I
Okay,
thought I pushed
thank
the button
you.
on the head.
Just a few things. I don't mean to beat a dead horse. 911, where are we?
We're still meeting with Excelsior next week. Last week we're meeting with Excelsior. That's still on the agenda. I think
How
it's,
soon are we going to meet with Excelsior?
I think the date that worked for everyone was the 11th. So it'd be.
I'm sorry?
The 11th, this coming Tuesday.
Oh, okay, okay, all right, good deal. The other thing on the tax reduction, or stabilization, I should call it, I talked briefly today with our assessor and his lawyer, and just kind of did some basic stuff about what we're going to need to do. And the monkey kind of jumped back onto our collector's back. And I just wondered if I could get, not right now, you don't have to, but could we get an update on where we are? Because if the governor signs this thing, I know that realistically, we can't get that done right now. But if we're pushing forward so that we can do it, in the future, short future, that would really be a good thing, and we'll be ahead of the curve on it. So when you have time, we can talk about it.
We're happy to give a brief report on where we are. The primary challenge for us is working with the software vendor to actually making changes into the software to accommodate this process, whatever that process is going to be. And I think that's the problem, is there's still a few unknowns exactly how this is to be transpired a little bit. I would say the legislation is not as clear as it could be in various aspects. So we have met, when I say we, the collector and the administrative services officer and I have met to kind of go through what are the challenges that we think and questions we need at least to kind of answer, or and then working with the software vendor and trying to get a timeline and kind of even doing a timeline of, if everything were done, what would the annual process look like? So we've done a lot of preliminary work. Again, I would say we probably have more questions than we have answers, but we're continuing to explore how and what that process would look like and how we'd go about it.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it was written kind of in a vague manner, that's for sure, to say the least. But if it goes, then it's a good thing. So we'll put up with all the other stuff. I wondered too, I noticed tonight we had a number of people that gave reports, and I like that, because they're letting us know what they're doing and a little bit about their area of responsibility. I'd like to see the same done from like our assessor and, the other office holders, police department, the sheriff's department, and, the others, come in and just give kind of an overview now and again. I don't know how we go about scheduling it. Should they get with you and do that, or?
Well, yeah, so we'll be reaching out to them. We pretty much have our departments all the way into the fall. And so once we get closer to that end, but then we're also going to be starting to gear into budget. So our thought process is the office holders would really kind of tie it in to the budget process and can give an overview of their department as we talk about the budget.
Great, great. Okay. There was one other thing. Reduction, meaning that. So, now I'll go ahead and hold off on that.
Okay.
That's fine. That's good.
Commissioner Wagner? Oops, there you go. Oop.
I'm taking the hit.
Yeah, it's Mr. Technology here. There you go.
No, Commissioner Lawson took all my comments, so I'm good. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Well, I just want to reiterate that America's a great country. Hope everybody had a good 4th of July yesterday. You know, there are a lot of centers of power here across the globe that don't stand for freedom and human rights and civil liberties, and we are very blessed to be in the most powerful country on earth that does stand for those things and plays an indispensable role in the world in maintaining a path of freedom for the people of the world. And you all are my fellow Americans, and very blessed to know that. And I think we have a lot more in common than we have than divides us. And we would be well served to remember that and to you know, make sure that we continue to promote the longevity of this great country so that the world can be a freer and better place. Thanks.
Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Johnson.
First of all, to echo Commissioner Carpenter, I'm one that likes a very honest and open dialogue, and sometimes very blunt, and a lot of countries you don't get to do that in. We can do that here, and I appreciate that we can do that here. And so I am very thankful for this country, as Commissioner Carpenter mentioned as well. And I hope we all remember how blessed we are to be in this country. It's a tremendous country, and I don't think there's one that comes close to being as good as we are. Aside from that, this earlier, our county treasurer spoke at the mic there about the reimbursement for his legal fees. And not to talk about the details of that, what concerns me is, and I got one of those emails as well, is that he seemed to indicate that nobody's responding to his emails. I don't know if that's the case or not, but he's indicated that nobody's responding to his emails. And I'm just hoping that somebody is responding to his emails. So my big deal was when I was a boss and someone actually listened to me, 24 hours. You respond to every email, every phone call within 24 hours, and if you don't have an answer, you let them know. Within 24 hours, I'll get you the answer. So I'm hoping that somebody is the point of contact with him or his attorney, and as that dialogue is taking place. And if not, hopefully it is. And on top of that, if we need to have an executive session to talk about it more, I'd suggest we do that sooner than later if we need that. I don't know if we do, but I'm going to throw that out there. I'd like to get him done with one way or another and get him answers. And I don't know all the behind the scenes what's going on there, so I just want to make that clear.
And I have no further comments, except I hope everybody had a pleasant Independence Day, and let's please keep in mind, as has been said by a number of commissioners, the meaning behind this holiday, it's more than picnics and fireworks. So thank you very much for your time this evening, and we are adjourned. Thank you.